But because that's a rubric, that fit very easily into Moodle as well. So seeing as we were already automatically adding the attendance in from their attendance data that teachers collect every day, we didn't want this to be extra work. So we were looking at how we could make it a really easy fit for everyone. And one thing we're really looking at in the medium term is also looking at how we can automate more things in this rubric using Moodle. So for example, the deadlines, if everybody were submitting things on Moodle, we could probably get out the information about whether they met the deadline or whether they hadn't. Maybe there's measures of their engagement through logs and things like that. But of course, it's very difficult, especially when you're first setting out. Everybody does things differently in their classes, and a lot of it still isn't on Moodle, and maybe it never will be. So we're still leaving that as a rubric. And so how that looks now for us is in that same course, we have assignments for each block. And when a teacher goes into that assignment, they can, again, filter down with the same list down to their class, and they're just grading a rubric. And so when they click on one of these students to grade their student based on their learning attitudes, they just click through one of these rubrics like this. So this is that same rubric before, but in Moodle style. The same descriptors and yes, no, and exception. And then to go a step further, because we wanted to make this as easy to use as possible, or as easy to report as possible. So being in Moodle, we can open it up to the students. We haven't done so just yet, but I know that that's the direction that we'd love to go to. It's about when the teachers are sort of ready, having communicated what the rubric means and feel it's ready to be shared. So all of last year, most of the teachers shared their rubrics in their classes, but we didn't just open it blanket online for everybody. So probably this year we're looking at how we could allow access to that and gain that extra transparency. So a teacher would fill out this rubric every reporting period, and we're in one of those right now, actually. But to go further, the grade book for that course then comes up with our GPs for the learning attitudes. So this is what the grade book kind of looks like. You can see that. So this is for all of block 1, so all of the first class that students would have, 1 out of their 7. So the teacher would fill in the rubric. It's out of 18. Then we've got attendance and punctuality, which would come across automatically from the attendance that they took. All I do there is I pull it out and push it back in as a graded item, so that the grading comes through. Because there's a very interesting little kink with the attendance module. It'll only ever grade out of 100, and remember we were getting grades within the thousands and all of that. So we needed to convert those into something that was meaningful for our attendance and punctuality data. So there's a little bit of a formula. It's just an SQL query actually that I run. If there's anybody techie out there that's interested in seeing that, I can show you how that runs. And then that automatically generates this 3.97 for this particular student for that course. And they get one of these grades for each of their 7 courses. And so how that looks, let me just zoom out here. So our report card looks something, that's a tiny, tiny microscopic view of what our report card looks like, but they would have basically 7 subjects down the side. So each of the subjects, they would be shown a standard space achievement, which comes straight from also Moodle gradebooks, but their course gradebook. So all of our teachers, we've made it so Moodle is where all the grades are kept, and just with the SQL query, I take just the final grades from each of those courses, and that goes straight into our reporting system. And then the learning attitude achievement, that comes straight from the gradebook that we just looked at in the high school wide course. And so that's basically our story of how we have used Moodle to help with our reporting of student behaviors. But it also provides, because you can export everything out, it makes it very easy to manipulate that, or to get that data and make something useful out of it. So I just noticed recently that we have our most sick days, or people coming in late and people being sick on Mondays. I don't know if that's a surprise to anybody, but we've got the data now to prove that. So it allows you to sort of build all of that just because it's all in Moodle and exploitable. So the big questions for us in the longer term is really what we're looking at is how are we communicating learning? So how do we identify all those aspects of learning that students are doing? So including the behaviors and encouraging positive behaviors, and then also showing, you know, what they are actually achieving. I know that the GPA or the GPs, those numbers, you know, it's a long way to go before it becomes something meaningful that students are really understanding, parents are understanding what that really means in terms of learning. So we've got a long way to go. So the big questions really are, how do we communicate that, and how do we provide this feedback that's meaningful to our students so that they can continue to learn? Yeah, really, that's my sharing. So I'd like to open it up to, you know, with those two questions, to hear what everybody else, you know, if you're doing something interesting along similar lines. I had a request from Sarah to just share that SQL. So I can actually do that. I'll show you something about some of what I do in the background. Share my screen again. Here we are. Feel free to fire in questions, by the way, into the chat. And I'll just share this screen again. Okay, so can you all see my desktop again? Great. So one of the things that I use is the admin report. So I'm not sure if this is we're with Moodle Rooms, and they have added a few plugins, but we've got this interface for admin to just put in and actually pull out our own our query our actual database straight with the SQL. So I have written a couple of SQL queries. One of them, if I can find it, attendance punctuality scaled with description for imports. There we are. It's a monster of an SQL script. But basically what I'm doing here is I am selecting the student I am, make more sense. But it's from the attendance data, it's calculating punctuality, which means that they have, so 3's a maximum, down to a 1 being the minimum in our scale, and it's calculated whether they have been late at all. So this person has not been late, this person has. Let me just zoom in a bit, I think that might help. With the attendance, again, same thing. Have they been there every single time? So this person at the top has, this person at the bottom hasn't. So that's basically what it's pulling for all of the students. And how that works is, sorry. Okay, let's come back this way. All right, let me go back to that SQL. How it all works is it just, that's the formula there for every one of them, and it's just basically, oh, hang on, let me just have a quick look. Bit more down here. You can see how much JavaScript it is. But yeah, because everything was codified as, you know, being present being out of 100, and then being late being being out of 1, we can actually codify it and bring out an actual number there. So that's the monster of the script. It looks a lot bigger than it is. You just solve it for one of them, and then you have to just replicate it for all 7 blocks. So I don't know if that was very useful or not. Right. Are there any questions at all? Maybe I'll just close that. Yeah, or are there any stories that anybody else has seen, similar usage of or something like that? Yeah. Thank you. 2 minutes for questions. There we go. It's very interesting that the conversations that have recently been happening a lot more are the ones about, do we really need these grades? Can we move to feedback, narrative? There's definitely, perhaps it's partly due to Hong Kong and culture here, but students do put a lot of emphasis on grades. And so that's an interesting discussion that's sort of occurring a lot more. And the great thing is Moodle is, we sort of just, it's so adaptable. You can just make it fit whatever you want it to do. So that was quite a challenging sort of task when it sort of first fell in my lap, and I wasn't even in this role at the time. But I thought, yeah, I'm going to make this work and try and automate it so that something such as separating the grades out so that we can see just attitudes to learning. And trying to make it something that really isn't too much for people to do or too much extra work. And I think it really has been quite successful in that. We've been able to report, it's been more work for sure, but in terms of the amount that we are able to report, the value that we've added, it's not that much more work. We sort of fill in an extra rubric. We might be doing extra things in our class, so using Class Dojo, a number of teachers are using something like Class Dojo or some other tools. We're getting students to, reflect back how well they feel like they're asking for feedback or participating in class. So it really is, it's probably just improved our teaching practice and our awareness and getting feedback and providing feedback to students. And that's, yeah, so it's been a good journey for us.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here in case people have to leave to go to the next session starting. Oh, it's not that far away. It is quite early. Sorry, I got the time wrong. We have about 15 more minutes. So if anyone has any more questions, keep going. I'm just going to say thank you, though, very, very much, Andrew. That was great. And it was definitely a different sort of way of looking at things, of how we can use Moodle and things like that and how to link it all together. So the room will be open still for about another 27 minutes or so. So keep chatting away. If not, don't forget we do have forums and you can still pop your questions in there and Andrew will see them and be able to get back to you. Thanks very much, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem. Put on my contact details there just in case. I hope you're all enjoying the Moodle Moot. I definitely am. I've got a few I really want to catch up. A few sessions I really want to catch up with. Cheers, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks, Vinny. Let us know when you're in Hong Kong. Good question. Yuli, I hope I'm saying your name right. would you say it's possible to do something similar with attendance taken in not just one course, but in their own course? So are you talking about each teacher takes attendance within their own Moodle course and then pulling all that data out and making something useful? Is that what you mean? Right. My first thoughts are it would just be, so just like I showed you that SQL script, that would be my first ways of going to it. So one thing I do is I have a similar script which pulls out all of the grades, and it pulls out the grades from each individual course's grade books. And all I need to do is keep a list of the IDs for the courses. So it's a bit of an SQL task. It would be my first answer. But there's probably other ways of doing it too. One thing I noticed is with attendance, you can get a report. So in the attendance, let me see if I can find that exact report. Let me just see if I can share this. Right, can you see that? Okay, so in I go back to my attendance. Bear with me as I bring up a student. In a student's attendance, they get a report that is not just for that particular course, but all courses. So I don't know if that could be useful too. So that's a second thought. Students, they can see their attendance in every course. It would just come up here. So these are actually 7 or 8 ones all in the same course, but it would just come up with, so that's the name of the course there at the top, HS attendance for iMoot, and it would just show all of their attendance. That's more, I guess, from a student's point of view, but yeah, I would say if I were going to have to pull out all of the data, I would write an SQL query just with that reports, yeah, with the reports. So you can, so our grades are also in a similar, the wrong one. So I've got a report here which is for a student. Student grades. So this particular script actually goes through many different courses, and the courses it goes through are all these listed here. So I've just had to put in every ID of every course that that we run that I want to take stuff from. This is taking grades, but you could very easily take something like attendance. And the other thing is each attendance activity also has an ID, so you could probably just grab the attendance activity IDs and then just put that into some sort of SQL script and then run that. So this, yeah, generates a report for all of their grades and pulls them all out like that. Yeah. So I hope that maybe answers your question a bit. I'm not sure. No probs, Shane. I hope to hear some of your guitaring skills. When's that? Next Sunday or something? We're looking forward to it anyway. Thanks, Sarah. I'm glad it was useful for you.
Hi, Andrew. Look, I was just going to let you know that Marlon from your school,
Yes.
he might be still around there, I'm not sure. He tried to enroll, but he enrolled in the last iMoot accidentally instead of this one.
Oh no.
So
Poor fella.
if you still see him around work,
yeah, I work very closely with him. He's our curriculum coordinator, and just before coming into this, I was like, oh, I'm about to go online, and I'm probably more nervous in presenting to parents. And he's like, oh yeah, you're going online, and I think he was trying to just go on Bennett, and then we're all set.
That's fine. So what we've done, just to let you know, I've sent him an email just then, an urgent one, just to let him know he paid money for the last iMoot that was back in May. So we've just refunded him his money. And if he wants to join this one, maybe you could direct him to the correct site, and he's welcome to come and join this one, but we've refunded his money because he's joined one that was 6 months ago. So I just want to let you know, just if you might catch him before leaving today.
Yeah, okay. I'll probably see him in a minute. Yeah.
But he's welcome to join in ours if he wants to the rest of it, but I don't know if he'll want to now. So thanks, Andrew, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah.
Oh, we're desperately looking forward to it. It sounds awful, we've just got here, but we need a break already. So, and
what
Shane,
we can do is we just work out how to. We're a little bit difficult to find our house. We're not too far from it at all. But,
no, your lovely wife sent me the most intricate, detailed description of how to go to your house and how to ask a taxi driver to get there.
Right. Oh, good.
So, which is fantastic, because otherwise we would have been quite stumped. The one thing I may as well ask while I'm here is what time?
Good question. I think we were saying 11 or something. I don't know. I'll have to ask. I'll have to ask the boss.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, ask the boss. Yes, and Shane's desperate to play. He's got a guitar here, but it doesn't have an amp. But I said to him to still take his guitar down because he can play it. So
yeah, we've got an amp. I've also got 2 or 3 guitars, so not to worry. And I've got a bass as well.
Okay, well, Shane, because there's no one in the room. I tell you, Shane's really annoying. He could play anything, but he's really a guitarist. But he's just one of these annoying people who plays anything. So he just picks up an instrument and plays it. You're like, oh, yeah. So one of those types. Thanks so much. That was really good, by the way. It was great.
Oh, good.
So
I'm glad. Yeah. I wasn't quite sure what to present when I first thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just give this a go. And that was good. It was good.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.